Welcome back. Take a slow breath. Today we're exposing one of the most revealing patterns in narcissistic behavior, the person they always return to. It's not just an ex. It's the person they keep as an emotional anchor, a backup, a source of validation, and a doorway they never truly close. We'll uncover who this person is, why that connection rarely dies, and how you can recognize the signs before getting pulled back into the same cycle of hurt. When you start dating a narcissist, they make you believe they're single. They go out of their way to convince you. But often the truth is different. There's almost always someone still orbiting them. On the surface, your relationship seems exclusive, but behind the scenes there's ongoing communication they never mention. That's why, when things end, they appear to go back to someone, though in reality, that person never left the picture. How do they hide it? With stories. They paint their ex as crazy, obsessed, or toxic. These narratives serve two purposes. They make you sympathize with them, and they make you doubt your intuition. If you start asking questions, you're labeled paranoid. Meanwhile, they keep their secret connection alive. Messages late at night, deleted chats, and those mysterious just friends conversations you're told not to worry about. Not every ex stays connected, of course. Some see through the act and walk away for good, but narcissists collect people like souvenirs, never closing the loop, only parking the relationship for later use. Out of all the connections they've made, there's usually one who remains accessible, bound by hope, guilt, or the trauma bond that keeps them emotionally hooked long after the relationship ends. The more polished narcissist won't even badmouth their ex. Instead, they craft a story that sounds emotionally mature. We just grew apart, or we're still friends. It seems healthy on the surface, but in their hands, it's a smokescreen. Friends usually means there's still emotional exchange, shared secrets, or a private communication channel that keeps them supplied. It's not closure, it's camouflage. Why is just friends such a red flag? Because, to a narcissist, people aren't people, they're assets. Assets must stay available, warmed up, and within reach. By calling it friendship, they buy legitimacy. You're not allowed to feel jealous because it's harmless, but underneath the label, that connection functions as a backup battery, charged and ready for when their main supply fails. You'll notice a pattern. Whenever there's conflict between you and the narcissist, they retreat to that ex. They vent, twist the story, and cast themselves as the victim. Because of the emotional history, the ex feels sympathy, or worse, competition. Without realizing it, the ex helps reinforce the narcissist's version of events, and once again, the narcissist sits in the center, drawing energy from two directions. This is why they always seem to move on so quickly. The person they flaunt after you isn't new. It's someone recycled from before. The communication never stopped. It just changed labels. The new relationship is often an old one revived. Meanwhile, during your time together, you were told, "You're my everything." But that wasn't a confession of love. It was a setup for dependency. When a narcissist says, "I love you unconditionally," they're lying. Their love has conditions. Mainly, how well you serve their needs. Their promises of forever are not commitments. They're contracts of control. "I'll never leave you" really means, "I'll keep you as long as you're useful." Their affection is transactional. It lasts only as long as your compliance keeps their ego inflated. One practical clue is in their online presence. Does their social media clearly show they're single? If not, prepare for excuses. "I'm not good with technology," or "my friend set up that account." That's weaponized incompetence, a deliberate act of pretending helplessness to hide the truth. If you ask them to make the relationship public, they'll refuse. Why? Because someone else, usually a former partner, is still watching. Another red flag is their inconsistency. They vanish on weekends, have sudden work emergencies, or become unreachable at specific times. When questioned, they'll charm or guilt you into dropping it, but these predictable disappearances usually mark their parallel schedule with someone else, often the same ex they claim to be done with. You're left with crumbs of attention, just enough to keep you from leaving. Sometimes the situation gets even more tangled. The so-called ex is still a partner, and the new person knows it. When someone willingly joins that triangle, ignoring another person's pain, it often signals narcissistic or co-narcissistic tendencies on their part too. The narcissist thrives in this chaos, manipulating both sides while blaming everyone else when the truth comes out. Conflict between partners becomes their entertainment. When both supplies turn against each other, they feed on the drama. They love the attention, the tension, the tears. It gives them importance. By keeping everyone confused, they remain at the center of control. When both sides finally confront each other, the narcissist shrugs, acting innocent. You both need help. It's manipulation disguised as detachment. So who exactly is the person they always return to? It's not their soulmate. It's the one who never left. The ex who forgave too easily, who still answers texts, who still hopes the good version will come back. The narcissist doesn't return because of love. They return because of access. The past becomes their emotional storage unit, always available, always waiting. At the root of this behavior is fear of abandonment. Their ego depends on having someone who remembers them fondly. Without that mirror, they can't see themselves. The X represents familiarity, a safety net, and a guaranteed hit of validation. They can't stand being alone because solitude forces them to face the emptiness they've built their entire identity to avoid. That's why, even after a breakup, they keep watching. They stalk your social media, ask mutual friends about you, and send anonymous messages to test the waters. When they see you healing or moving on, they panic. That's when the Hoover begins. A sudden text, a call from an unknown number, a song that once meant something. It's bait. It's not romance. It's control wrapped in nostalgia. Their return isn't about missing you. It's about reclaiming ownership. They can't stand seeing you happy, autonomous, or untouched by their influence. Your peace threatens their power. Their need to reappear has nothing to do with affection and everything to do with domination. They don't love you. They want to manage your emotions like property they refuse to relinquish. In more extreme cases, especially malignant narcissists, the behavior turns dangerous. Stalking, threats, manipulation, even feigned suicidal gestures. They say things like, "I can't live without you," but these are not cries for love, they're weapons. They're designed to hook your empathy and trap you in guilt. Remember, you are not their therapist, savior, or lifeline. Their safety is not your responsibility. There's a myth that once a narcissist leaves badly, they never come back. But many do. I've seen it countless times. After chaos and silence, they reappear as if nothing happened. You gave up too easily, they'll say. It's gaslighting disguised as closure. Each return deepens the trauma bond. They don't come back for you, they come back for supply. Not all narcissists are identical, but their playbook is eerily consistent. Maintain multiple sources of supply. Keep options open. Control through confusion. Recognizing this pattern is your first act of freedom. Once you see how predictable they are, you stop personalizing their chaos. You understand, their behavior isn't about your worth, it's about their addiction to control. You'll notice the shift. When the love bombing fades and the criticism starts, they seem distant. Their eyes dull. Their enthusiasm evaporates. That's the moment they've already reactivated someone else in the background. You'll feel the energy leave the room long before they do. They're not losing interest. They're changing supply lines. This leads us to the back pocket X. The emergency reserve. The emotional spare tire they keep inflated, just in case. To the narcissist, people are like batteries, used until depleted, then recharged elsewhere. They rarely end relationships. They just pause them. When one battery dies, they grab another and pretend it's love again. Why does the X stay available? The trauma bond, that intoxicating push-pull of punishment and reward, rewires the brain. It creates hope, addiction, the belief that the good version is coming back. The narcissist knows exactly how to trigger that craving. A single apology, a late-night text, a half-hearted confession, and the door swings open again. The truth is, narcissistic relationships are rarely monogamous emotionally. There's almost always a third party, usually an ex who never left the stage. If they speak of every ex with venom or claim they're still close with all of them, pay attention. Streams in either direction signal manipulation. Healthy people don't rewrite their past to protect their lies. Eventually, that ever-present ex becomes a problem. They start interfering, causing friction, or resurfacing when you least expect it. You're not overreacting. This triangle was designed from the start. The narcissist needs tension to maintain control. Without competition, their power fades, so they keep multiple hearts half open, never allowing any of them to fully close. Who do they always return to? The most forgiving one, the one who kept the door unlocked, the one who can be guilted, sweet-talked, or flattered into another round. They don't return to love. They return to predictability. The first text after months of silence is never random. It's a calculated move based on past success. So how do you protect yourself? Replace their words with evidence. Observe patterns, not promises. Do they keep their world open to you? Or are they compartmentalized and vague? Genuine people offer clarity. Manipulators offer charm without proof. When in doubt, trust the inconsistency. It's the only truth they can't hide. Set a personal rule. If they're not clearly done with the past, they're not ready for your future. That's not cynicism. It's emotional hygiene. You're not rejecting love. You're rejecting confusion. Real love invites transparency. It doesn't require you to dim your intuition or overlook contradictions. When they try to hoover you, don't debate. Debating gives them oxygen. State your boundary once. I'm not interested in reconnecting. Please respect that. Then go silent. Silence is not cruelty. It's closure. You're teaching them that access must be earned, not assumed. Every non-response reclaims another piece of your peace. If they use spirituality, we're meant to be, God brought me back to you. Remember, faith without accountability is theater. Real change leaves evidence. Therapy, consistency, self-reflection. Narcissists use holy words to mask hollow intentions. Don't mistake grand declarations for transformation. Change without proof is just decoration. Beware of the "every ex was crazy" story. If everyone before you was a villain, guess who's next? People who constantly blame their past will one day rewrite you into the same role. Pay attention to how they speak about others. That's how they'll speak about you when you're gone. Sometimes, they'll go the opposite route. All my exes are my best friends. If that friendship involves secrecy, gifts, or constant contact, it's not peace, it's preparation. When words sound polished, but behavior feels off, trust the feeling. Manipulation often wears politeness as perfume. They will keep trying, but you don't have to keep answering. Freedom doesn't need their approval. It begins the moment you stop explaining yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Redirect your focus to rebuilding your sense of safety, purpose, and community. Places where truth doesn't require translation. If guilt creeps in, remember, boundaries aren't walls of hate. They're fences of health. You're not shutting them out. You're keeping your peace in. Healthy people respect fences. Manipulators climb them. How they react to your boundary reveals their intent more clearly than any apology ever could. You might feel tempted to reach out to the ex they keep returning to. Don't. That person is usually trapped in the same fog, both defending and suffering. Entering that triangle only makes you another pawn in the same emotional game. Compassion doesn't require participation. The deeper healing begins when you ask, why was I drawn to this pattern? Which part of me thought I could win where others failed? What wound taught me that love means competition? Awareness breaks the magnetic pull. Healing isn't about blaming yourself. It's about understanding the need that kept you staying. Narcissists return to the familiar because it's efficient. Rebuilding intimacy is work. Recycling dependency is easy. That's why they seek understanding partners, which really means tolerant ones. Redefine understanding as recognizing manipulation when you see it, and refusing to excuse it again. If they beg for a last chance, ask for evidence of change that existed before you reappeared. Therapy, accountability, repaired relationships, transparency. True growth precedes reconciliation. It doesn't start with it. Don't become their rehab center. Let actions, not apologies, do the talking. When news of their failures reaches you, let it pass. You're not their archivist. Focus instead on your quiet victories, uninterrupted sleep, steady breathing, laughter that doesn't need permission. Healing isn't loud. It's the sound of life moving forward without needing to look back. Then one day, you'll notice you don't care who they're with. Not from apathy, but peace. You'll have better things to think about, like yourself. That's when the spell breaks. They may still return to their favorite ex, but you're no longer part of their pattern. You've stepped off their carousel. When you hear they've gone back to a previous partner, remember, it's not romance, it's recycling. They're not returning to love, they're retreating to comfort. You didn't lose. You finished. Let them repeat the loop. You're not in the lineup anymore, and that's victory. If you happen to be the backup ex they keep revisiting, here's the truth. You can break the pattern, end the access, block, heal, rebuild. Confusion is not connection. Familiar pain isn't proof of destiny. You deserve a relationship that doesn't depend on another person's absence to exist. If you're uncertain where you stand, ask not, are they single, but are they finished? Finished means the past is closed, contact ended, and no just friends left lingering. Without that closure, you're not starting something new, you're joining a sequel written by someone else. The person they always return to isn't the one they love most, it's the one who tolerates the most. Don't confuse availability with value. You don't have to be the one who stays. Be the one who ends it. Choose clarity over closeness when closeness costs your sanity. The truth stings at first, but sweetens over time. Once calm becomes familiar, chaos feels foreign. You'll look back at their drama and wonder how you ever mistook adrenaline for affection. Peace isn't boring. It's the soil where real connection can finally grow without fear. If they show up again, remember this pattern. People who keep multiple escape routes will never stay in one room of honesty. You don't need to punish them, just don't participate. Absence is the only consequence they truly feel, and it's the one that heals you too. Here's your validation. You're not too sensitive for wanting clarity. You're not needy for wanting consistency. You're healthy. Healthy people crave transparency. Manipulators call it pressure. Don't let anyone convince you that your desire for honesty is a flaw. Surround yourself with people who see patterns early. Friends who check on your peace, not your drama. Mentors who name wounds without shaming. Therapists who teach boundaries instead of blame. Healing alone brings awareness. Healing together builds strength. Awareness is light. Community is direction. Now you know who they always return to and why. It's not love, it's logistics. But that knowledge gives you freedom. You can end the cycle, close the access, and walk into a life that doesn't orbit someone else's emptiness. Healing isn't revenge, it's release. Take this truth with you. I choose clarity over closeness that confuses me. That's the door out of their maze. They can keep spinning in circles, chasing ghosts of control. You don't live there anymore. You are the center of your own life now, and from that center, real love will finally find its way to you.